Any remaining questions?
Well, let me just follow up on that particular issue. Twitter Spaces, an audio function newer to the platform, was allegedly rolled out in such a rush, to your point, that it hadn't been fully tested for safety. Twitter lacked real-time audio content moderation capabilities when they launched it. We're told that in the wake of our withdrawal from Afghanistan, that was exploited. It was exploited by the Taliban and Taliban supporters who used this platform to discuss how cryptocurrency can be used to fund terrorism. First of all, is that accurate? Mr. Redder, maybe I'll start with you. And second, is that common for Twitter to launch products that lack content moderation capabilities? You said that sometimes they are under pressure to ship products as soon as possible. Was that why this happened?
So it is accurate that they're under pressure to ship products as soon as possible. And Twitter in particular has a history of being very worried about user growth and revenue growth. It's not the runaway success that Facebook or Google are. And so there was often very extreme pressure to launch things. And a saying we had is that if you walk around and ask enough people if you can do something, eventually you will find someone who says no. And the point of that was really to emphasize you just need to get out and do something. And again, the overwhelming metrics are usage, and you would never get credit or be held up as an example or promoted or get more compensation if you didn't do something because of potential negative consequences on the safety side or otherwise. In fact, you would be viewed probably as someone that just says no or has a reason not to take action. There's a huge bias towards taking action and launching things at these companies.
Yeah. So are you aware of this Twitter Spaces issue and the Taliban having exploited it?
That specific example, I'm not.
Okay. Do you think, assuming my example is correct, which I believe it is, that the Platform Accountability and Transparency Act, that PATA would have been helpful there to at least get behind the curtain and figure out why the decisions are being made?
So I haven't read the draft of that, but that's it. If my understanding is correct, yes, having more understanding of what these products do and what sort of content is promoted and what the internal algorithms are that drive both decision-making and usage of the products, I think that'd be extremely valuable. And without any of that, I would expect examples such as this to keep happening.
On this trust and safety issue, and specifically the product development and business decision-making processes, Mr. Boland, maybe direct this to you. Meta disbanded its responsible innovation team just last week, it was announced. And did you see that?
I did. It was extremely disappointing.
My understanding is they'd been tasked with addressing harmful effects of product and development processes. So you're saying it was concerning to you. Why are you concerned about it? And tell us about how you interacted with integrity teams while you were at Facebook.
So I know the people who led that team. Very, very high integrity, very intentional about responsible design of products, as the team was named. Without that kind of center of excellence that's helping to shape other teams, I fear that Meta is not going to continue to have that as a part of their conversations. You can think about that group as influencing and indoctrinating, if you will, the engineers to come to the company of how to start to think about some of these issues. It's less hard-coded into the incentive structure, which I think is a missing element, but would have driven really important conversations on how to ethically design products. Disbanding that unit, and I don't believe them when they say that they are making it a part of everything, that they're going to interweave it into the company. That's a very convenient way to dodge the question, in my view. I don't believe they're going to continue to invest in it if it's not a team. And this comes at a time when Meta is building the metaverse. We don't know how the metaverse is going to play out. I am extremely concerned because the paradigms we've seen in the past that we've started to understand around content and content distribution are very, very different in the metaverse. That's an area that if I were this committee, I'd spend a lot of time really trying to understand the risks of the metaverse. It feels very risky to me. It feels like the next space where there'll be underinvestment, and without a team like Responsible Innovation helping to guide some of that thinking, that's concerning.
Again, same question to Mr. Redder with regard to how to evaluate these trust and safety efforts in general, and specifically something like the Responsible Innovation Team and what impact it's having, do you think that it would be helpful to have this legislation called the Platform Accountability and Transparency Act?
I think so. If we get from that more information to illuminate what these algorithms are doing and what the incentive structures are, that'd be extremely helpful. I think today we're operating in a vacuum. And what we see, a lot of the public conversation about this is people will cherry pick one example and use it as evidence of whatever their theory is of these companies are doing. That, of course, it must be true because this here's one example. The fact of the matter is these companies are so massive and there's so much content, you can cherry pick examples to prove almost anything you want about these companies. And without broad-scale representative data from which we can compute what is being promoted and then reverse engineer what the incentives must be, we're never going to see a change into the things they're optimizing for.
What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Bowen?
Yeah, no, I think the issue that we face today is that is we have to trust, and without having a robust set of data to understand what's happening and make these public conversations, not company conversations, is critical. The Meta will like to tell you that they don't want to put their thumb on the scale when it comes to algorithmic distribution. The challenge is that these algorithms were built in a certain way that you're kind of leaning on the scale already. You just don't realize you're leaning on it. So these algorithms today are already doing a lot to shape discourse and to shape what people experience. We don't get to see it. And we have to trust the companies to share with us information that we know that they're not sharing. As I said earlier, I think the Platform Accountability and Transparency Act is a critical first step and we need to do it quickly because these things are accelerating to understand what is actually happening on these platforms.
Mr. Kane, you have the last word.
I do believe that there are a number of issues that were addressed here today that will have significance not only for our democracy within America, but the position of America in the world. There's been major changes that I've seen personally, having been in China and Russia and recently Ukraine, in the world of technology, in the world of social media. And my greatest concern is that we are ceding too much ground to authoritarian regimes that seek to undermine us, and to malign us in whatever way they can. The software that we're using, the AI, the apps, these are ubiquitous. I mean, this is not the Cold War where we had hardware, we had missiles pointed at each other. Now we have smartphones, and it's entirely possible and quite probable that the Chinese Communist Party has launched major incursions into our data within America to try to undermine our liberal democracy.
Well, that's a sobering conclusion, and I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate your testimony and our other experts. Thank you all.